things that serious either. What's up, bro?
What's good, guys?
Good, guys.
Bro left me hanging, bro.
My bad, I wasn't looking.
I'm telling you, bro. It's for the whole year.
For the whole year. I had some more, but I was back at home, bro, and I was like, I don't think I need it.
Feel free, bro. Oh. Bro.
I'll go to the.
Hey, yo.
I'll go to the restroom and do it.
I'll do it, man. Nah, kidding.
This guy. Dude, how'd you clean your hands? How do you clean your hands after using a gel?
It's on my towel. Hell no, it's not like. So you have to look this one.
Alright. Bet my mic changed. I'm about to start.
Actually?
I'm a little crazy. I'm about to go like. Yeah, it's our quick little meeting. Yes, sir.
Oh.
Then after, I'm gonna get ready for the Cowtopia. You just lock in for about like 50 minutes.
Dude, I'm not gonna. I might as well just use the bro. Like, I'm gonna keep it there for forever. I might as well drink it.
Might as well.
Oh wait, hold on. My bad.
I need my coffee.
What? Okay.
What?
Oh wait, oh wait.
What is that? Like lemonade.
What's that lemonade?
Like lemonade.
It's the original one.
Rao. Alejandro.
What? Carrara.
Bro's coming out in the video, no way. You scared of that?
Yeah.
Now I'm playing.
I'm not scared of that. This guy fucking went crazy.
Menace with it.
Menace with silence.
I should put my mouth on you. I
Did you?
should have.
No.
No. Oh, I should have said.
I don't do the alcohol either.
No, no, take it off.
Even like these 4%.
You already passed? This fucking.
Oh, after. Oh no, never mind.
There's after. There's no after. It's either we have right now or nothing.
What time does Pav close at?
9.
Oh, dang.
But that's when Caltopia closes their doors to enter again.
Dang.
You can't come back either way.
Oh yeah. Once you leave, you can't come back.
It's gonna be there for a fat minute.
That's why they have the food vendors, right?
You know the food vendors?
Dang.
They're always on prices. Now you get even passes like.
I got my try. Oh, let's do it.
No, like for the event, like during the, you're not gonna bring the boy chum during.
No, after.
Well, I think we'll go for shower. I'm gonna be like, yo, you trying to let's go eat?
Excuse me.
But go eat. Go eat. I said the. Well, tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
She was so sick.
I think that's live, but like be on my computer.
I mean, it's video too. I mean, you've seen all the movies, though. That's different. I'm doing it for Stacy because she hasn't seen any of it.
You know what? I want to see her reaction. I go.
Bro, this guy.
But like, on the side, I'm gonna have my phone right there, like input, exporting all the photos.
I mean, it's up to you, honestly. I'm just gonna go
I'll still go.
just for. I'm doing it for Stacy, and then Chriselle. I mean, she hasn't seen it either, so I might as well force her to go too.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna do it all day.
Wait, in the
Gamer.
room?
Yeah.
I'm down.
It's gonna be all day, bro. Like, fuck, it's gonna be a long. I just finished my homework right now, and I started playing games. That's how I take a look.
Let me just finish it.
Either. Bro, wait, what happened? Because the event ended a lot earlier.
This is successful.
Cause like, I heard you guys ran out of. You guys ran out of food by the time we got there, and then like, the entire time.
You get more, I think.
Huh?
You get more. I think most definitely get more. Left up more. So then, we had leftovers. We had leftover hamburgers.
Actually,
So like,
bro, no way, bro.
Like 10 or 12.
Bro, me, Stacy, bro, and you stayed hungry again? I feel like you should bring a jacket down there.
No way.
Isn't it cold?
Is that birdie?
Should I? Fuck it, bro. Fuck it, we ball.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Oh wait, I don't have him connected to my. Let me see. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
For sure, for
What the
sure.
fuck is
I can hear you now, Jacob. How's it going?
Earth? Good?
That's
Good,
awesome.
good,
That's
good.
that's good. That's good. Did you have any classes today or no?
No, no class
Okay.
today.
Yeah, that's a W. Yeah. My friend or well, my roommate has class on Friday, and I always like make fun of him. I'm like, bro, I don't have any Friday classes. I'm always free on Fridays. But no, yeah, that's awesome, man. Do you have anything like you did today or what?
Uh,
Or that you're gonna do today? Maybe like Catopia?
nah, I was not gonna go to Caltopia. I don't know her like that.
Nah?
But my friend did invite me to her Florerico, her little event
Yeah, the
dance
Frocorico, yeah.
there. And then she was like, "Oh, I forgot she invited me." Mind you, this is like weeks in advance. And I was like, "Yeah."
Mm.
And I was like, it was from 2 to 6. And I was like, oh, damn, like I forgot. And I was like, hey, if we can maybe like push it back an hour so I can stay a little bit. And then I was able to stay, get some concessions going, and
There you
took
go.
some pictures. Yeah, I enjoyed the little event. And then now I'm just home watching some movies, nothing major. And
Hey, there you
then
go.
after this, we're gonna go hit the buffet.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
That's dope.
you.
No, yeah. So I actually had a like an early morning today. Not so early, but I mean, I woke up at like 8. Pretty much just got ready for my business society event. I'm still wearing the
Okay.
shirt, but yeah. So pretty much like we like set up for like families here, like in Merced. We like cook food for them. We did like a little Easter hunt for like their kids, and then I
Oh,
set up games for them, and we also like did like kayaking, a bunch of just activities and stuff like all for free,
yeah.
just for like a bunch of families here in Merced. And then we did like a clothing drive too. We separated a bunch of like kids' clothes and like a bunch of clothing, so we can give out to like the local families around the area like in need. And so we did that, and it was pretty cool, being a part of that. Um, I was there from like I didn't go right when it started, but I got there at like 11 or like 10 ish, and I was there till
Uh-huh.
like 1, and then I kind of just came back, rested a little bit, and then I just went out.
Okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I did today. But yeah, I want to ask you, do you have any midterms or like any finals coming up that you're preparing for?
Man, not really. No, I
Oh,
have
okay,
one
there you
take
go.
home final, but the rest, no. I have like they're not really like cumulative.
Cumulative, yeah, okay,
Yeah, so
there you
there's just
go.
like finals, but it's just
Mm,
one, and
yeah.
it's a take home, so I'm not really stressing about it.
Hey, hey, that's kind of light, not gonna lie. Yeah, if it's a take home, then yeah, but they're awesome. No, but
Right.
no, yeah, that's awesome though. But yeah, actually, I did let Tona join as well, so Tona's gonna be here as well. I know you met him, at the event at the workshop last time. But yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of just wanted to kind of just like set the stage, kind of
Uh,
give you like like expectation and like what to expect. I don't want you think this is like an interview. It's not an interview. I just want to get to know you pretty much.
oh.
I want you to get to know me more, get to know Tona as well, because I mean, like, we're almost like complete strangers. We met like one time, but I mean, like, we're kind of talking here back and forth. But I mean, that's how you meet people. That's called networking. But no, yeah. So we're not gonna touch too much, let's say, on business. We're gonna kind of just like talk about more, just getting to know one another, seeing if our goals and our values align. We
Yeah.
might to like touch on some surface level type of things, but yeah, you can kind of save those questions for the end. But yeah, I mean, I actually wanted to share a little bit more about like myself first. I know we got the chance to speak a little bit when we were
Yeah.
actually, like at the workshop and at the event. So like you kind of even like know who I am already briefly. But like a question I did kind of have for was like I'm not sure if I asked this already in person, but like what caught your interest like initially, like like when I reached out to you, like send you the message because I know like you don't have like a business background, so what kind of like made you interested, like wanted to respond.
Okay, so I really, for like retrospect here, I came to UC Merced as a business major, right?
There you go.
Because I fell in love with the business culture and I watched Shark Tank growing up and just seeing that's like
Yeah.
very awe-inspiring. And I think in my junior year, the spring of my junior year, I was in an internship. The BCG is like this Boston consulting group where it's like a 3 month like internship where
Mm,
you create your own app idea. It's very like tech, and I did
mm-hmm.
it just for experience, but I wasn't really like feeling it.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, "Whoa, I really like this, the environment stuff." Switch majors because I just felt like math is not for me.
Yeah.
Fuck no. But I do want to be in the realm of business, right? So I was like, okay, let me switch to psych. I went into psych. But this goes like further back. I don't know if you guys familiar with the app Eventbrite.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm familiar with that. I used to buy like tickets on there.
Thank you. So for me, I would just always be on there like my sophomore, junior, senior year, like looking at networks and networking and entrepreneurship workshops.
Yeah.
But they would either be so costly or they're so far away, mind you. I don't
Yes.
are and I'm from LA,
Mm,
so it's like, man, and you got strict parents, like they don't let you go out like
yeah.
that. But I did attend some virtual. I attended this virtual workshop. It was some real estate. I was like, okay, I'm interested. I attended it, and they're all like high and like pride, talking about like I can help you make your 10K in the first month of being a real estate agent. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Scam me, For me, I was like, okay, maybe real estate is not for me, and I just went into this other Doom event from Eventbrite, and it was like sales, like a closing sales, and basically it just seems like a pyramid scheme. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not for me. Like, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
So I just like wanted to be somewhere around that aspect or area of entrepreneurship because I too aspire to be an entrepreneur and be in a business realm, but I just don't know where to get my start.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
did have like the aspirations and stuff. So I did like take notes like okay like someone did mention business society and I was like okay like I'll hold off on it because I'm not sure if I really want to join. Other fraternities would recruit me, but then it just seems like very I just don't fall into that idea. They're just giving me all this elaborate story like I don't know how to like articulate it, but they're like, just join, pay
Mm.
200, 300, but we can't tell you the services we offer. We can't tell you the benefits. And I'm like, it's like,
Nah.
you can't tell me, but I'm
But
gonna give
like,
you,
but you're paying
right?
for it. Like what?
Yeah. Oh, but you have to like join to like figure it all out. So I was like, no, like whatever. So it brings me back to like the holding thing because someone was like, okay, LinkedIn. I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm on there. And you're like, hey, like come to this like entrepreneurship thingy. Like I was like low key. I don't know if I told you this in person. I was like, uh-oh, who is this person? Like, I never met this person ever. But I saw you had like connections with like 500 people. I was like, okay, maybe he's legit. So like we started talking, and I'm like, low key, like I'm interested. And you're like, it's on Merced. You see Merced, it's like in Sentinel. I was like, oh my fucking God, like entrepreneurship workshop, like this
Yeah,
house legit. Like I was
there you
so
go. Yeah.
it's like that stepping stone in moving forward. And I think I like touched on this a little bit when I was in person with you. I was like, this is gonna further like jumpstart my journey on like self growth and whatnot. So that's what made me want to go out, as a keynote speaker who's been an entrepreneur and been in the business realm, who's well off and successful. So it's like I want to go take notes, see what it's like, be around like-minded people, and see what the future holds. So that's my little spiel about the whole thing.
No, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, Jacob. Yeah, I appreciate you for sharing that. Some things in there, you kind of told me, but some things were new. So, I actually appreciate that. Kind of, caught up my memory again too. But no, yeah, that's amazing. So like, you've kind of, always, had like, this like mindset, like wanting to, like do something related to business. And you kind of mentioned like a few things, like you've tried like real estate and then you've tried like other
Yeah,
things like what was it? You said that you had to like pay for it, but you couldn't know what it was. So you're like, this is like a
yeah.
pyramid scheme, this and that. Like, do you have like any experience with like, pyramid schemes or things like that? I'm kind of just curious. I mean, you brought it up, so like, wait, like,
No,
oh, okay, for
no.
sure. Do you know
Yeah.
what it was? Because like you said, it was sales, right?
It was like this service agency where it's like a cruise, but it's not a cruise, and you have to like recruit people, and they enter a raffle, and you just gotta like get a lot of quotas, and then you get, I don't know, it was just scammy. I was like, okay, not for me.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
sounds a
like
little weird. I don't know.
being very deceptive and stuff.
No, yeah, no, yeah. That does sound a little bit weird. But no, yeah, I appreciate you for sharing that. I kind of wanted to go kind of back into it. Share a little bit more about myself. Yes, my name is Christopher Castañeda. I'm a second year major here at UC Merced. But I mean, I'd say me. I'm not personally from LA. I'm actually from the Bay Area. I'm not sure if I told you this already. So like I'm like right above San Francisco. So
Mm,
it's like what? I'm not sure if you've ever been up there, but like how would you say like Sonoma County, Marin
mm.
County. Not sure if you're familiar with it or not. But
I'm familiar with San Francisco, yes.
okay, no, yeah, for sure. Yes, like I'm more up there from like the Bay Area. Most of my business partners are from like the Bay Area, like San Jose type of area. But close by, like an hour drive for me. But yeah, they actually came, all the Turner said, to host this workshop. But yeah, it was like, a really good event. It's like the second time my coach actually came out there, did a workshop for us. But you know, that's just, one of the many little things, he's done for me, like in the past, like helping me like develop myself and grow, as an upcoming leader, trying to, discipline myself more, being a lot more consistent. But,
Right.
I was not like, very disciplined, very consistent, still working on that now. But, in the past, when I did live, back home in the Bay Area, man, I would just hang around, very negative associations. And so like I was not the person I am today, I was just always hanging out, people, just pretty much just doing drugs, just
Right.
wanted to ditch class and not really doing so good at like scholastically. So like I was kind of just always around the wrong crowd, and that's because I wanted to fit in. I was like, oh yeah, I want to be cool. I want to hang out with the cool kids. I want to do what
Yeah.
they're doing. Um, but yeah, like my mom kind of saw that, she envisioned that already. So she's like, you know what? I know you're a good kid, Christopher, but the people you surround yourself with, just like it's not good. Like they're pulling you down. And so I didn't realize that until I actually got arrested at 15, and because of that, like my parents were super disappointed on me. It was New Year's Eve, so I got arrested. Like the cops put the handcuffs on me. Fireworks were going out and like in the middle of the night, and I'm like, bro, no way, I got arrested on New Year's. Like, what is this? My mom was like bawling her eyes out in front of my house. And I'm just like, all
Oh,
right, you know what? Like, I don't want to be like another like statistic. I don't want to be like another, like average Hispanic, kid, doing bad things. Not saying all like Hispanic kids are, out there
right.
like doing bad
Right.
things, but a lot of, kids in my area, were doing, things that, weren't really right. And so I got arrested for vandalism, just because I was hanging around, the wrong crew, wrong people at the wrong time. And so because of that, my mom was just like, you know what, let's do a whole 180, switch me school districts. I actually had the like idea barely in my junior year in high school that, oh wait, college is an option. I can go to college. So like it was
That's
never in my mind, like freshman year, sophomore year, not until like my junior year. I'm like, wait, hold up, I can go to college. Like I don't just need to work like a job my whole life. So
sweet.
this like teacher, she was my teacher for Avid. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Avid or not, but it's like this like college career readiness program. And so pretty much, she saw something in me that I couldn't even see in myself. And I was like, man, like why does this teacher keep pushing me? Why does she like keep bugging me? Like, I'm just trying to get through college, like, I mean get through high school, and that's it,
Yeah,
then I'm done. And she said, no, Chris, like, your grades, might not be the best, but you have this like, like, you have this strong work ethic, you're
potential.
very like you're very like ambitious, you should apply to college. I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me just apply to college, just so she thought like gets off my case, She's like, you should apply to UCs too. And I'm like, bruh, like now I gotta do the essays, now I gotta like, like do all
The
this extra work.
PIQ.
And I'm like, nah, I do not want to do this, Miss OB. And she's like, oh, come on, Christopher, like, like what are you gonna lose? It's free. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, what am I gonna lose? I got
You're
a
right.
few. I got a few rejections, but UC Merced accepted me. I'm like, all right, you know what? After I got these acceptances, I'm like, man, all right, which one do I want to choose now? Like, do I want to stay close? Do I want to go far? So I ended up choosing Merced, super like far from like where I live right now. It's like a 3 hour drive probably. But
Okay.
I was like, you know what? Let me do something new. Let me do a change. Let me do something, completely different than what I would normally do. Because I was planning on just going to college close by, living close to home, kind of just like, do something like that. But I was like, let me step out of my comfort zone. Let me not live with my parents anymore, and kind of
Right.
just be free. So that was a big thing, So I kind of fell back into hanging out with people who weren't the right crowd again.
Uh-oh.
It's
Uh-oh.
college. I was going back to parties. I was smoking. I was doing all these things, and I'm like, man, winter break hits. I go back on break. I go home. I'm like, hey, mom and dad, I feel kind of guilty. I've been doing these things, like haven't been so locked in. So I was just open and honest with them, and they understood. You like, yeah, it's college, mijo. Like there's a lot of um, you know
PCO.
yeah, like a lot of things like that, but also like it's a lot more responsibility, because like
Yeah.
there's no one there taking care of you anymore. Like, you know what, you're right. I'm like, I gotta mature, I gotta step up, and I have to learn how to say no, because that was my biggest problem, say no to people. And so, pretty much just over time, I just tried, to separate myself from the crowd, but not because like I wanted to be like a loner, but because I wanted to work on myself, mentally and
Sweet.
physically. I was in like my David Goggins phase. I was reading his book. I was going on runs. I was going to the gym. Like, man, I was waking up right like at like what 5:30, going to the gym at 6 when they open. Like I was locked in.
Mm.
But it only lasted for so long. Why? Because I just kept falling back into temptation with like friends, smoking, going out parties. And then so not until like me I found this opportunity, and I'm like, wow, like I actually, Tona reached out to me on LinkedIn, just how I reached out to you. And I was
Oh
like,
man.
man, like I'm looking for something like this. Like I'm already doing business society, but I want my own business. I've always like thought about it. I've always ran my little stores in the past, like selling candy, selling like Arizonas, Sabritas, whatever it is, like the little Pelo Ricos, all the candy. I would sell
Yeah.
all that. So like middle school, high school, I was like that kid. Like, hey Chris, like, hey, you got the stuff? I'm like, all right, I got you. Open up the bag, pull out the hot Cheetos, whatever. I got limon too, bro. You want some? I got you. Yeah, cut it up right there. But no, yeah. So even in my dorm, I had like like little maruchanes. I was like selling
Sweet.
everything, like waters. I had a mini fridge. I was selling Arizonas. I was selling sodas, like candy, like you name it. I would get it for you. But yeah, so like I was always just looking for ways to make like money, and like being able to like diversify my income. It wasn't because
Sweet.
like I just wanted the money, but because like I needed to help my family. So like when it came to like college, like, I'm completely paying all this by myself. So like that's why I chose Merced too, because of the financial, aid. They gave me the best financial aid, but there's still a little bit money, that needs to get covered. So I had to think outside the box, to make money while being a full time student. Looking for a job. But so I did all that, but I also found this amazing opportunity. And it helped me a lot with like staying disciplined, actually wanting to to change, not for others but for myself. And to like change the way how I act, the way how I dress, the way I talk, and like just overall like the way I carry myself. It was able to help me get the job at the bank. Is able to like not just impress my mom, but impress her friends. Because my mom's always like, "Oh, my son's always dressed up so nice now," and I'm like, "All right, mom, calm down. Like, I'm just wearing some suits here and there now, like just for some meetings." But then people start talking good about you, like, "Hey, like, what is Chris doing? What's Jacob doing? Like, he talks different now. He's dressing different now. Like, like what's he doing? I'm just curious." So people are gonna start to ask questions, and so at first, when I started up, like, man, I don't know how to answer these questions. Like I'm just learning about business right now. Like I'm learning how to start my own business. But What I didn't know was that like it's a whole process. It's a 7 step selection process. You're kind of just going through it. But what I didn't know was that it's actually the process was in my hands. Yes, it's 7 steps. It took me like I'd say like a month and a half, almost 2 months, about there. Yes, I was working full time. I'm a full time boyfriend. I was like taking some classes over the summer, but
Yeah.
I was still able to still go through the process in about what, like almost 2 months. But yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit about it. Like a little bit about like the business. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about like the mentorship as well, kind of like the impact it had on me. I kind of just touched upon it a little bit, but when it came to like I'd say like my addictions and like actually wanted to like personally develop myself, it helped me a lot. Not just because of like yes like the materials, like maybe some audio, some books I might be reading, but the people more importantly, because like these people like are just like they just have so much knowledge that's like when you go to like one of these events, when you actually like talk to these people here, like there's so many different people you can learn from, that I was actually able to learn from someone who had like addictions very similar to mine of smoking marijuana. So I spoke to him, and I was actually able to, to really understand on like and like see like envision actually myself like wanting to to become sober, because my mom, my girlfriend, a bunch of people told me, hey, just stop smoking. But it's really not that easy, because like when it comes
Ah,
from someone who's experienced something that you've done, that's when you can
there you
kind of be
go.
like, okay, you know what, that's a good reference point, I can work from that. But someone who's never experienced something that you're going through is a lot harder to kind of take that take that criticism and actually like implement it. So when I like heard the advice from the guy, I'm like, man, you know what? Like I actually gotta like, like want to try to change. So after just talking to him, I was like, man, I was sober for like 200 and like 64 days, something like that, like almost like a whole year. And I was like, man, like, like I was so disappointed in myself when I broke it. But I know it's possible to do it again and to actually want to be better because of the association. Why? Because we don't promote drinking, we don't promote drugs, all those, just pretty much just a bunch of like negative things like swearing, things like that, vulgarity. We want to promote like a healthy, open environment where you can like not feel judged. So that's why we have like this like open, safe environment, and it's like what we call like a life mentorship. So instead of just a business mentorship, I kind of already told you about this. Remember my mentor? He kind of postured
Yeah.
me, yeah. So pretty much, had the ego. I'm like, man, like I don't really I want these to be separate. But I pretty much told you the gist of that already. So, that's
Yeah.
when I learned, the hard way. All right, you know what? I gotta put my ego aside, and I have to, want to be mentored in life, not just in business. And so, that's why, I was very open, to share, my own problems, my own addictions, things like that, because I knew they weren't gonna judge me about it, but I knew that they were gonna help me and want me to grow. So
Yeah.
that's what like how it really impacted me in the way of like people I hang around with now, the way I act, the things I do now. But that's just like a little bit more about myself and kind of how like it's like I'd say mostly like the mentorship has impacted me. um but yeah, I mean, I know I kind of shared a little bit about myself. I kind of wanted to ask you, like I know you said you wanted to like always study business, and you kind of had like this drive for it. But I kind of had like this question, like what kind of like motivates you, like what kind of like pushes like to actually want to like learn about business, or like want to like develop yourself, because I know you said you've been looking for these workshops for a while. You've been trying a lot of different things, like real estate, going to all these conferences on Eventbrite, things like that. So like what drives you, like what's like your like motivating factor, like I'm kind of just curious.
Well, it's just I don't know how to frame this, but mainly more so because of just like that creative control, like I was at my office job because I had an office job in LA, and I'm like, I don't see myself doing this long term. I just don't see myself being in an environment where I'm working for someone else. I would love to be out there and be my own individual. And yes, you do reap the rewards you sow, and that could pertain to financial stability, security, living comfortably. But for me, I do look at those aspects and I just believe in the impact more so than what
Mm.
benefits me? So I don't know how to say this, but that's what motivates me because it's also like a personal journey, like knowing that there's so much knowledge and education out there and knowing that it's free. These events are free. Yes, some of them may be costly, like in the hundreds, but it's just a simple fact that you're networking, you know,
Hmm.
and you might never know. You can network with someone who has no connections, or you can network with someone who's a multimillionaire and get that ball rolling for you. So for me, I just really want to take that with such pride and reverence because just to simplify, you're making friends, you know, and
Hmm.
it's a life thing as well. Like you're building connections, networking, and friends, and you're surrounded with like-minded people in the field that you love, you're very passionate about. I feel like I'm very passionate about my little business that I want to have come into fruition. So that's what motivates me. It's the personal growth, the impact I might have, and the knowledge, education, like being very knowledgeable to me is what makes an individual more powerful.
Mm, I see. I see.
Yeah.
Did you did you mention they said that you have your own business, or you have like your own like little business idea that you want to start?
It's not a business, but it is something like do you want me to just like get into like the gist of it or like
I mean, you could just share a little bit about it. Yeah, of course.
okay, so during like my junior, I think my junior year, you know, I'm a fragrance guy. I love buying like a shit ton of like fragrances, mind you. I didn't get it like that. So I would go to the Burlington or like a Ross, you know, I
Yeah,
get
I feel it. I know what you mean.
um like rip-offs, you know, like
Yeah, like the
bootleg
dupe, the dupe.
ones, dupes. There you go. So I was just like, I would just spray, and I was like, damn, like these do not hit. And then I like find hidden gems, and like
There you
I'm like,
go.
okay, I like them. And every time, you know, I get my little dinerito, I'll be like, okay, I'll go shopping here, Burlington, see my, because what I'll do is like I'll blind test them. Like I'll go online and search up the notes, be like, okay, I like this musk, the woody scents, and
Hmm.
I'll buy them. And like I have like a collection of like a lot, mind you, I get like fragrances from Bath and Body. Some of them are unisex from like Victoria's Secret or like Target, and I have like a shit ton of like collections
Mm,
as a
okay.
whole. And I was like, oh my God, like I do have like maybe my little perfumery business, you know, like I did think about it. And
Oh,
then
okay, okay.
recently, a couple months ago, it came back to me. I was like, wait, like I did some self-reflection. I was like, where did that idea go? You know, like I'm in college, you know,
Yeah.
I have a part-time job, I have an income, I can invest a little bit. So
Hmm.
that's when I started to save up some money, you know. Um, I did like go online, look at some like articles, and like I did my little research. And of course, you know, I don't have a perfumer apprentice, so I did what one does best and go to like chat and AI and be like,
Yeah.
hey, help me out, like, would this smell good with this, you know?
Yeah.
And I formulated my own little scent, and I just went down this rabbit hole of like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it was like literally earlier this month, I have like $400 saved. So it was like some, you know. I was thinking
Yeah.
maybe like saving more, but I was like, okay, like, you know, like I have some spending money. So I told Chad like, hey, where can I find like affordable like essential oils to create my perfume? And then I went on this whole like rabbit hole, and I went onto this one website. It's called Perfumer Apprentice. It's where one goes to buy like each individual ingredients, essential oil.
Ah.
And that's when I ordered a bunch of them. It came out to be like 300 and something. That's including like the 10 milliliter sample,
Hmm.
the pipette, the funnels. That's like including everything, the basics. And then so I crafted like one scent. I'm still working on the name. I'm not sure. Currently, there's about one, two, three, four. There's four versions of it. You know,
Okay.
like trial and error. I'm like playing around with the scents, and I do have
Uh-huh.
this like concept idea. So all in all, like I do have aspirations of stepping foot into the perfumery business. You know,
Yeah.
even till now, I have expanded
Hmm.
my colognes, you know, like now that I have money, I'm able to get some like YSL for myself and
Yeah.
Baccarat,
There you
Phantom
go. Okay.
and Citizen Jack, you know, other parfum. Like now that I have money, I'm able to like get the, you know, the
Yeah.
most good quality and be like, okay, this smells good, this smells good. So yeah, that's like I have going for myself.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, so that's I don't know how to like phrase this, but like I have a little notebook and I journal and be like, okay, version one did not work well.
No,
I
that's
want it more.
awesome. That's awesome, bro.
So that's when I'm like going, yes.
Yeah. No, yeah, I can see that, that you know, you're very outgoing, especially, like with this, idea, like you seem like you're very passionate about, this like, perfume, cologne type of like, like scent business. And that's awesome, because not a lot of college students, are, even working a part-time job right now. Like, so if you don't
Yeah,
mind me asking, like, are you working on campus or you work off campus right now?
I do. I work on campus.
Oh, okay, on campus. Where do you work at again?
The DC, the dining center, you
Okay,
know.
there you go. Yeah, the DC for sure, for sure. No, yeah, I mean, hey, as long as you're getting, as long as you're getting that bread,
There
But
you go.
no, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, no, like I was saying, not a lot of college students even work a part-time job. Nonetheless, even have the idea of wanting to start their own business. So like you're journaling, you're reflecting, you're like revising, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. That's something I need to work on. It's something I need to like actually start doing. When it comes to like reflecting. So props to for like already doing that. But kind of like talking about like all like this like business idea. I'm just curious and like I just thought of the question. Like have you like had like a mentor, like anybody helping you with this, or is this just like solely you? And like, have you ever like, ever had like a mentor like either now or like in the past before? I'm kind of just curious.
So to answer your question, I feel like I did all of this by myself. Mind
Mm,
you, I have a concept, business concept of
mm,
I want to have three sets of colognes, you know. Um, I do have names for them, and I have like, it's kind of like placeholders. So one of them is called limerence. You
mm,
know, you experience limerence, you're in a state of like obsession, lust, desire.
mm-hmm,
So what limerence smells like is very woody, fruital,
mm,
fruity. I have grapefruit, lavender, bergamot,
mm,
and as you get the dry down, you get the ambroxan. Ambroxan is like a light, woody scent, and as
mm,
the bass notes hits, that's the sandalwood, the vetiver, right? And that's what I got going for that one. And the second bottle, I have yet to ship and play around with the scents,
mm,
but this one takes on more of salt, tropical, right? The
mm,
scenery is based in the beaches in Marbella, España,
mm.
right?
Okay.
Hiking trails. It's called El Verano de Hombre. And basically
Hey.
what it smells like is very woody, aromatic,
Mm,
ozonic, salty, right?
yeah.
I have like, play with it, but I'm having this concept. I'm like, oh my God. And the third cologne, I have yet to like, I'm basically my current demographic that I want to reach is like the male gaze,
Yeah.
have be like a masculine niche brand. But yes, to go deeper into that, I'm like, I am doing this all by myself. I am currently taking like perfumers courses to expand my knowledge surrounding like, okay, the ingredients, what works well with others, and the chemistry and the perfumery behind the science.
Mm,
So I have never had a mentor. I would love a mentor. It's kind of reasons why I like am so interested in this program, because you have a mentor and a life coach to help you with your e-commerce business. And same thing with Chris, right? The other Chris with
yeah.
his apparel and I feel like if maybe I had that same connection with a business coach in that same area, it would further solidify and establish my perfumery business in a sense that I have someone guiding me,
Mm-hmm.
Like we can share, like you, oh my God, what was his name? Was
Tona.
it, no, not Tona, the one the key speaker.
Luke.
Luke?
Luke.
Luke. There you
Yeah.
go. I feel like you and Luke, I see that chemistry in a sense that you guys share similar business values and same business concepts, but you guys are each individually your own selves, but
Mm-hmm.
you guys bounce off of each other, And it's
Exactly.
like, hey, like you guys build off of each other. It's like, that's good, this is amazing. So I feel like maybe if I had that same aspect or
Mhm.
mentor, it could like get that ball rolling. Like, oh my God, like,
Of
you
course,
know,
yeah.
so long term, I have never had a mentor. Yes,
Mhm.
I'm interested in a mentor,
Okay,
business
right.
coach, life coach, whatever that may look like, to like further guide me, because
Mhm.
why would I like waste time, be like, oh my God, I don't know how this works, where I can have someone shadow me and guide me, be like,
Mhm.
hey, Jake, have you tried this? Try this, and
Mhm.
further expedite my like journey to success, like not success and like, oh my God, this and this and that. Success and I define it as like, oh my God, this works. Okay, what's the next step? This works,
Yeah.
and maybe, get that ball rolling.
No, yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, so I definitely see, like how, you've been seeking a mentor definitely and like a business coach. And something I kind of just wanted to clarify was that, yeah, like I understand, you're seeking a business coach, a mentor, someone, to kind of like, teach you, kind of, like the what to do, what not to do. Um, but someone very similar like is actually kind of doing the same business, just as us. His name is Kelvin, and before he even like started his own e-commerce business, he had his own personal business. He had his own basketball business, and he's
Okay,
still currently running his own business. So he's currently running his own basketball business and running his own business right now on the side, his own e-commerce business. And so our coaches, our mentors are helping him build, his own e-commerce business. While yes, they give him some advice for his own personal business because that still affects his life.
there
Because
you go.
that's something that he's still doing as well. It's part of him. He does it because he likes to help other people. When it comes to learning basketball, why it's his passion. You like sense. So let's say you wanted to yeah, start your own e-commerce business. you know, our coaches, our mentors, would most likely, help you, with your own e-commerce business. It would kind of, help you be able to work with me, work with Tona. Um, but, they wouldn't necessarily, like go out of their way to help you with your own personal business. Yet they, they would still give you advice, but, they'd want to help you more with your e-commerce business, since it's almost like a team-based business, I'd say. And so, your own set business is, like I'd say outside of, like, something you're doing, and just like me, like my own businesses that I would have on the side, like yeah, they can give me advice on it, but but they're not gonna go out of their way, to be like, hey, you
Exactly.
should do this, this, and that. They'll just kind
Yeah.
of give general advice, unless you show them, like, hey, what, I need your time, can you like like ask for their time in advance. But like kind of like while we're like talking about mentorship right now, I actually wanted to tell you a little bit more about my mentor. I know Luke kind of talked about him already. Do you
Yeah.
recall him mentioning Phil?
Phil, I'm not familiar with Phil.
Okay, no, yeah. So pretty much he showed Phil on the stage. I know like we are having a little bit of technical difficulties, but he did show some pictures of Phil and his mom on the kayak. Not sure if you remember
Oh
that.
yeah, there you go. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's right.
So yes, so Phil is actually our mentor, and he was able to retire himself. Yeah, like 21, 22 years old, and then he retired his mom at 23 and his dad at 24. And man, when I first heard that, I was like, okay, what? Like, how
What?
did he do that? I was like, wait, hold up. I'm like, how did he do that? And what I didn't even realize is that, at the age of 25, he was able to sponsor them, from Vietnam and fly them to the US. And so I'm like, dang, from like the time span from when he was, 18 years old, he was, FOB, fresh off the boat pretty much. He had no English. He like, was pretty much like working. I'm pretty sure he's working like a dishwasher job. And so like he didn't really like have anything really going for him, just besides, coming here, wanting to make money to, help his family. And so that's what he did. He's able to, find this business opportunity. And now he, he has businesses, around Canada, Toronto, just like Arizona, like pretty much all across the country. And so,
Right.
what he was able to do was, really impactful, not just, to like, me, but to everyone else, like Tona, like Luke, and like pretty much everybody there who saw at the meeting, who wasn't like a guest, he's been able to, impact in, many ways. And I'd say, a way he was actually able to impact me was probably when I first met him. Um, this is kind of going back to like what I'd say like the third step in the process, because technically this is like the first step. We're just getting to know each other. We're just kind of, you getting to know me more, I'm getting to know you more. But on the third step, I actually went to my first in-person event. So very similar to like the workshop, it was like that, just a bit more professional. It was a dress code. It was business professional. Bring your notebook and pen, and I told you about it. My mom drove me. She's like, no, these people are gonna rob you. Like, you don't know what's gonna
Yeah.
happen. And so,
Fresno, no?
it was in Santa Clara.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in Santa Clara, and I remember Tona was waiting for me, and I ended up getting there like an hour late to the meeting. It's like I passed out in
Oh.
the car. I was like an hour late. Tona's like, man, this guy's not showing up. And then I pull up. I like wake up. My mom's like, hey, wake up, we're here. I'm like, oh shoot, we're late. Like like it's cooked. Like they're not gonna let me in anymore. And so I get in. I'm like, wait, like there's no meeting. Like I don't know where to go. Like Tona's not answering. I walk back to the car. Like mom, like there's no one here. Like I don't know where to go. So then Tona
Oh,
comes out and he's like, oh wait, it's over here. Like on the second floor. I'm like, what the heck? So then I go in there, start locking in, taking notes. I sit up in the front. Man, I was so nervous. But when I tell you, I was like, it was not what I was expecting. I was expecting everyone
right.
all serious, like sitting
Yeah.
upright, like no talking. No, these people were clapping, like, "Hey, like let's go, this and that." And I'm like, wait, hold up. Like,
When, right?
I was like, am I in the right event? Am I in the right business meeting? Yeah. So I was kind of questioning myself because I'm like, man, like I've never been in a business meeting. I've never been, like at any type of professional conference. So I never really knew the environment. But the environment there was very uplifting, very friendly. People were super welcoming. They're like, oh man, what's your name? I'm like, and I'm like extroverted. I'm someone who can like I can talk to like a wall for hours. But it's like, man, when I'm in an environment I had no idea, like I didn't know nobody here. I see some professionals, I see other students that look just like me, and I'm like, man, like, what the heck? Like I see this one loud guy. His name's like Asadula. He's like, oh, he yelling stuff like that. I'm like, I gotta talk to that guy. He looks cool. So like, I started talking to him for a little bit, but yeah. So like it was just completely caught me off guard, and I was like, man, like I don't know, if this was for me or not, but I actually got the chance, to speak to Phil, my mentor there. And for me, seeing him like one on one, like that was a huge thing. I'm like, wait, you're the guy from the videos, like you're the guy that I'm watching on my phone. Like, what the heck? Like I'm meeting you face to face. Like I was like, hey Phil, like it's nice to meet you. I introduced myself, things like that, and asked him like, a really important question, like something that, most likely something you might ask him as well, like, hey Phil, like, if what you're doing, is legal and ethical, will you be my mentor? And the reason I said legal and ethical because I was like, man, like I heard you retired at 22. Like how'd you do that? Like my initial thought, like, oh, this guy's selling drugs. Like he's moving like under the table or something. But no, he actually answered me. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, Chris, thousands of people ask me that same question. At every single event, big conferences, things like this. He's like, what makes you different from everybody else? And man, I was thinking, I'm like, wait, hold up. Like he didn't just answer me. Like he questioned my question. I was like.
There
I
you
started I,
go.
I started thinking, I'm like, wait, hold up, I've never thought this hard before. So I'm there, I'm like, palms are sweaty. I'm like, oh man, what do I say? And then I'm like, oh wait, I know what makes me different. I pull out my phone. My resume's on my phone, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm like, oh look, here's my resume. I have these qualifications. I started working at 15. I'm like, work ethic, ambitious, this and that. And he's like, stop, just stop talking. And I was like, what? And he's
Oh.
like, you can put that away. And I'm like, huh?
Mm.
He's like, that tells me nothing about you. And
Oh.
I was just there like, huh? Like what? And and then he's like, what I look for, is people with, integrity, people with accountability, people, that say, if you say you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it. So people, with that character. Something that, like a valuable lesson he showed me there was that he chooses character over character. Oh, why can't I think of the word?
Like
Character?
character over characteristics?
No, no, no. He chooses character over credentials. So instead of like
Okay.
like
There
saying
you
like, oh
go.
yeah, it's like that's what it was. I was like trying to think of the word. I just like totally lost it. Yeah. So and I was like kind of questioning. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you choose character over like credentials? I'm like, I have all these things. Like they say so many good things about me. He's like, you know how easy it is to lie on a resume? And in my head, I'm like, well, you're right. People can just lie on the resume, because like my resume didn't say, oh, I came into work late one time, like, I'm glad it doesn't say that, it just shows where I was employed at. And so we kind of started digging deeper into that. And, I shared a little bit more about myself and, actually let him know, that I was arrested. And he's like, okay, you see, Christopher, like you're here, someone at this meeting, you're interested in learning about your own business. Yet, you were a prior felon, what, 2 years ago? He's like, just because you were that, doesn't mean you can't be successful entrepreneur now. You see,
Mm.
that's why he chose character over credentials. And I was like, wait, that makes a lot of sense. And also, like because of like, going to other meetings after that meeting, because I was like, man, like those words right there, I'm like, all right, man, that's all you gotta tell me, bro. Like I know you're a millionaire. I know you make money, bro. Asking me these questions like that, like he told me to just keep coming around, and so I did that. I met other people just like me who who were in and out of the system, but they were able to change because they had that character, because credentials didn't really matter. And so, that was just a little bit about my mentor, you know, like my first encounter with him, and I was like, man, I just like really, like that was like like a memory that I wouldn't be able to forget, because it was like, man, actually being able to meet someone who like I saw, from like, like YouTube, this guy's not just like, like an AI generated bot or something like that. Like he's actually
Right.
someone who's real. So I was like, man, that's like that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm not sure if you have any questions about my mentor. Like I know Luke kind of talked about, Phil already, things like that. Um, but I'm not sure if you want like more clarification. If not, I can kind of, go more in depth about like, like the whole process and, kind of, like how long it'll take you and things like that.
Well, we can delve into that, not necessarily regarding, the mentor, but like yes, like delve deeper into like the mentorship process, what is that looking like on my behalf and so
Of
on.
course, yeah, of course. No, yeah. So, like after today, like I'd love to send you maybe like another video. I know I sent you a video beforehand. What'd you think about it?
I'll be honest with you, I did not watch the video.
Okay, you didn't watch
Shame
the video.
on
Hey,
me.
okay, no, I
Shame on
appreciate
me.
that. No, I appreciate you though. Like I sit down, I talk to a lot of people every single day, and I talk to people. Oh, I watched the video. Okay, what was it about? Um, um, uh, I think I need to rewatch it. I'm like, yeah, maybe you should rewatch it. So like, I appreciate you for being honest. There's some people they just cap about it. Oh, it was like, ambition. They just start like making stuff up. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe you should watch it again. But no, yeah, definitely, like I'd say watch it.
I will.
Maybe take some notes, kind of, just reflect on it, and then you can share back with me and Tona, like, what you thought about it. But pretty much I'd say like, to kind of dive deeper into like the 7-step selection process, essentially, it's ultimately like at your pace. You might think it's in my control, but it's really in your control. And that was like my first mistake when I first started the process. I was like, oh man, it's in Tona's control. Like I don't gotta worry about it. Like he'll tell me when we can meet again. He'll send me the next material. He'll send me another book if I need to read it. But in reality, it was all up to me. Why? Because you know it's my process. So
Yeah.
like I should have been like, hey Tona, when can we schedule our next meeting? I finished the audio. I want to move on the process. What's the next step? Things like that. I should have had more urgency to want to finish. And like looking back at it now, I regret it because like I always get like super like man like super like flamed because I think about my coach, Quan and Luke. Man, they finished their process in 3 weeks. I was like,
Oh,
how did they finish their process in 3 weeks and it almost took me like 2 months? And I was like, man, I really was not like locked in. But you know, you can kind of just show like from different perspective. Some people might take a month, some people might take 2 months. Like for Chris, the other one, he took only a month in the process. For me, it almost took 2 months. Yes, I was working full time. Yes, I was had a lot more things on my plate. But it was also summer. I was had more free time, so I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing. But I'd say definitely the process on your end, it should pretty much just go like both ways. I said like what you're doing right now, um, but maybe just a little bit more. Maybe like instead of just being honest, maybe you can start being transparent, being like, hey guys, like I know you guys sent me the video, but unfortunately I wasn't really able to get to. I had this come up, I had a class, and I went to my friend's event. Things like that. So like that's a skill that I learned when I was in the process. Because me, I'm very honest, but when I started the process, I was like, hey man, like I'm honest, this and that. Like oh, like that's great, but what we want to see is transparency. I'm like, what's the difference? I'm like, it's the same thing. And they're like, okay. My coach told me this. She's like, honesty is, you're gonna tell me the truth, when I ask you. But transparency is, you're gonna tell me even if I don't ask you. And I was like,
mm.
wow. So maybe I was too transparent, but I would be texting them like, hey, I'm in the bathroom right now. I was like, okay, I don't need to know that. But I'm like, hey, I'm telling you what you told me, So pretty much I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I can't join the meeting right now. I'm like, I'm dropping a log. I'm my bad.
Right.
No, but like maybe that's TMI, it's like my coach, but pretty much I'd be like, hey, you know what, like I'm busy right now, but
Mm.
pretty much like when it comes to like I'd say like wanting to I'd say like go through the process more, like I'd say quicker and more efficiently. I would just say like definitely keep that like communication. I would say with me with Tona, because it's a two-way street. Like you're obviously here, evaluating me today, to see if I'm someone you'd like to partner with, but I'm also, going to evaluate you, based on your actions, based on what you tell me, if you're gonna be, or a reliable, communicative, business partner, in the future, so pretty much throughout this whole process, you're not like starting your own business. Essentially, you're just learning. You're learning how to like how to like pretty much change your mindset, to think like a business owner instead of like everyone else. Because I'm not saying you're not thinking like this now, but most people nowadays have like this very big employee mindset where like they just want to work. But luckily for you, you've already seen like like the ugly facts. You worked your past job. You realize you don't want to do that your whole life. You're like, man, I don't want to be stuck in this rat race every single day. I do the same thing and I have the same weekend. And I'm like, man, what the heck? And then I started questioning myself. I'm like, man, why do we only have a 2 day weekend? Why is it not 4 days? That's something we'll cover in the next meeting. It's a great question to ask yourself why we only have 2 day weekends. But yeah, it's pretty much this whole like scheme of like being stuck in the rat race. And so that's something you've already experienced, something you don't want to do with your future. And I'm glad you're able to see that now. Because most people don't see that ever, or they see it when they're old already. But yeah, I mean I'd say, just about the process, it's pretty much in your hands. And, I'd just say, really just keep that, open transparency, that communication. And, just like, showing us, I'd say like that hash. And you might ask, what's hash? Don't think of hash browns, but think of like hash as like be, humble, be appreciative, be smart, and not like smart like book smart, but like street smart. So you don't gotta be like okay like da 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 with the math, because trust me, I don't like math either. I passed
Mm.
calculus with a C minus, but
Oh,
but hey, C's get degrees. But and then the last H, I said humble first, so the last one is hungry. So you want to be hungry for knowledge. You want to be hungry to learn, and that's something that was hard for me because at first, like man, like I gotta try so hard. I gotta like go to the meetings. I gotta like text a lot. It was a lot at first. So something else I can probably let you know too is like let's say we're sending you audios, we're texting you a lot throughout the day. Something I've seen for you though is you like to text. You're very active on the chat, and like that's awesome. Usually people who I talk to, people who I take through the process, man, they like send me one word response. Hey, how's your day going today? Good. Nah, you're like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm doing this. I'm like, hey, man, I love this guy's energy, bro. Jacob's always like putting the caps in, like that's awesome, bro. But no, yeah, something I definitely say is, like, definitely let us know if me or Tona, like, we send you too much material. If, we're like, like sending you a lot of workload. Because, yes, we're college students. We're working part time jobs. We understand, So it's just pretty much just having that communication to let us know, like, hey, you guys are putting a lot of pressure on me right now. I'd appreciate it, if you guys can just, like, like, maybe not text me so much or not send me so much material. Because, I mean, we understand too, but, we need to know these things so we can, know how to work with each other. So I'd say that's like the biggest thing. But yeah, I mean if you don't have any more questions, I was gonna send out material to you, but since you haven't watched the video yet, you can just watch that video. Maybe take some notes on it. Kind of share back in the group chat maybe what you thought about it, and then yeah, I mean we already have the group chat set up, so we can kind of just stay in touch there. But I mean I'm not sure if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Feel free. My bad. I know
say,
I was talking a lot.
say, say I want you to send me the new material.
Hmm.
Could you, or I have to, I know I'm gonna like fully analyze it, interpret it, and interpolate it, and then give you my thoughts, or
Hmm.
is it like out of your own, like, how would that work?
Yeah, so like let's say like now, like even like yeah, you have one video that I sent you a while ago in the group chat. You know, nothing's holding me back from sending you another one. If you ask me for it, I'll send it to you. I'm not gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna let you move forward. I'm not gonna send you the material because you haven't finished it. If you're asking me, for more material, if you're asking me that, you want to learn, and your actions are showing me that, you're watching the videos, you're, analyzing it, you're taking notes, you're, sharing back a reflection with what you thought about it, how it, might, affect you, or how it resonates with you now or in the future, or how you want to implement it into your life, then yeah, I'm not gonna have no issue, sending you another material. And I'd say like a big thing too is that I'm never gonna charge you a single dollar, and Tona isn't either. But Tona's
Mm.
that type of guy, so if he asks you for a 20 or something like that, don't give it to him. He's gonna use it for his gas. Nah, I'm playing, I'm playing. But no, so pretty much throughout the whole process, I'm not gonna ask you for a single dollar. I'm not gonna charge you, any type of money. The only thing I am going to charge you with is your time, to see if you're willing to learn about something that is gonna benefit you, to see if you're willing to learn about something that it's only gonna help you. It's not gonna help anyone else. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have any more comments, questions, concerns, things like that, we can pretty much just wrap it up. I know it's been like almost an hour already. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Perfect.
But no, yeah, I mean, we can kind of just stay there active on the chat. If you have questions, maybe they don't come up now, you can just ask me on the chat. I'll check at them right now. But yeah,
Okay, and the acronym HASH. It's humble, appreciative. I didn't get the S.
smart.
Mar and hungry. You got to stay hungry for the knowledge, keep
Exactly.
education, and honesty versus transparency. Because
Mm,
honesty is like you're asking me, and I'm like, I'm gonna be honest. I do
yeah,
not want,
yeah.
Whereas transparency, I feel like what I could have done better was like logged in Zoom meeting, be like, hey guys, I just remembered you guys sent me that video. I have yet to get through it, take notes and jot down, to get my mind going.
Hmm.
But do not worry, I will have it fully analyzed, not like
Yeah, yeah.
jotted
You see?
down by the today. So I gotta look
Yeah.
more into
No,
honesty versus
definitely, yeah, no, and like yeah, before the Zoom meeting would have been great, or like maybe even like what, like today before the Zoom meeting, send the text, hey guys, haven't got a chance to watch the video yet, but that's great reflection. You're already seeing how you can already like implement that. But yeah, just little things like that. It's gonna take time, to start building that habit. But yeah, glad you already like you saw it, you look back at it, and you're trying to improve now. So that's awesome.
yeah.
But no,
Well,
yeah, Jacob, if you want, I can send you another video. I think the video I sent you is like an hour long. Maybe I can send you another one. It's like another hour. But yeah, it is Saturday. When do you think maybe you'd finish those audios? Maybe like a few days, like a day, 2 days. I don't want to like put a time frame on you, but I just kind of like want to know like maybe like
so like when I'll be done with the both videos?
yeah, you could just say both videos.
Yes, I do one today. No, realistically speaking, maybe by Sunday night.
Okay, for sure.
And next week we're starting fresh.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm
No,
very tentative. Don't worry, I won't let you
no,
down.
no, there you go. There you go. Oh yeah, that's great, Jacob. Well, yeah, I mean, it's been like an hour. I don't want to take up more of your time, but yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just let me, Tona, know in the chat there, and we'll just keep you posted with everything. All right, Jacob?
All right. Thank you guys so
Yeah,
much.
awesome. Yeah, good meeting
Oh,
talking
I'm
with you later.
excited.
That's awesome. That's
All
awesome.
right.
Have a good rest of your day, Jacob. Bye bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, Tona.